I'm going to start with just going over the staff assignments. Really, the first time that I've talked to y'all since I guess it was signing day. But lots happened since then from a coaching standpoint, and lots happened since then from a player standpoint. So try to get you guys caught up here before we break up and you get a chance to talk to these guys individually. So Joe DeForest is going to be our defensive coordinator. Joe comes from Oklahoma State. Obviously, you guys are pretty familiar with him at this point, but really excited about what he brings to the table from from a Big 12 standpoint. Obviously, he's been there for 13 years, and got those guys at 13. Joe, I think it's 11. Okay, well. And got those guys to the point to where, we've had lots of battles throughout the years and understands the style of ball that we're going to be playing in the Big 12. And I think that's incredibly important. There's a lot of good offenses in the Big 12, and you got to be able to keep playing. One of the mottos that we had this year from our team was the importance of continuing to keep playing regardless of what the situations are. So he understands that stuff, and they led the nation in turnovers last year, and will really bring a lot to the table. He also coached the safeties. He's going to spend a lot of time with the specialists. He's had a couple of All-American punters and a couple of All-American returners and kickers and all that stuff. A lot of stuff I don't know a whole lot about. So he'll be able to bring something to the table when it comes to those guys as well. His recruiting duties will be North Florida. He's from south of Jacksonville, so he's familiar with that part of the country, and we'll be able to get in there and do a really good job for us in North Florida. Keith Patterson comes to us from last year, was at Pitt. Prior to that, he came from Tulsa, which is where I went up against him for 3 years. Got a tremendous amount of respect as far as what he's bringing to the table from the fact that he's been a defensive coordinator. He's going to be a co-defensive coordinator for us here and coach the linebackers. He's went up against our offense for the last 4 years, which, again, going into the Big 12 and the amount of spread offenses that we're going to be seeing, that's really important to be able to have that kind of a philosophy and be able to line up a defense that's what we want to go to, which is more of a 3-4 defense. Be able to kick it down to a 4-3. There's a lot of variety with what you can do to that, and it's something that over the years has given me problems to the point to where I knew that's kind of the direction that we wanted to have. He'll also be recruiting at Dallas and be in the junior colleges in Kansas and Texas and Oklahoma as well. Eric Schlatter is going to be coaching our defensive line. Eric comes from Stephen F. Austin, where he worked with Shannon, pretty familiar with him. Again, it comes back to the same philosophy as far as where we're going and the type of offenses that we're going to be seeing. He's going to have a tremendous amount of knowledge from being able to practice against Shannon for the better part of 2 to 3 years, and then having a lot of ties in that part of the country, we're going to stick them in Central Florida from a recruiting standpoint. We don't want to just overload people from a recruiting standpoint into Texas. We're going to take care of a lot of the stuff that we've been taking care of around here for a long time. But he's a diligent recruiter, and he's going to bring a lot to the table from a work ethic standpoint. Darren Roberts is going to move over to the defensive side of the ball and coach the corners. His recruiting territory is going to remain the same as far as, he did a great job in Baltimore and D.C. He's going to take over pretty much the entire state of Maryland, and then also get down into Virginia as well. And we haven't done a great job in Virginia here in the last few years, and Darren's going to get in there and do that. Steve Dunlap's going to, we're excited that Steve's staying on board, and he's going to be our, the assistant head coach and special teams coordinator. That's important to me as far as having one guy that makes sure that they stay, focused on taking care of the special teams. And everywhere that I've been, last year we kind of broke it up quite a bit, which, I thought we got better and worked hard at it. But having a guy that's just going to make sure that he focuses on it and and spends the better part of his day making sure that we do things schematically and evaluating talent and all that. I think is something that's gonna pay off. We still got a lot of guys that can work on special teams. I mean, Joe's done it for the better part of 12 years. I'm going to be in every meeting. Darren and Robert, these guys are gonna, they're gonna work hard on special teams as well. But to have one guy that kind of focuses on it all day long, I think is really important. He's still going to recruit Western Pennsylvania. He's going to get into Eastern Ohio. He does a great job up there, which we all know that's been an important area for West Virginia for quite some time. Shannon Dawson, we're going to make Shannon the offensive coordinator and coach the receivers. Where him and Darren were kind of sharing the receivers last year, Shannon's going to be able to take that over and continue to get those guys better and better. Been recruiting Houston for quite a while. He'll continue to go down into Houston and see if we can, pull one or two kids out of there like we've been doing here for the last several years. Also get into Mississippi junior colleges. He's from Louisiana. We'll get into Louisiana a little bit, but primarily it's going to be more Mississippi junior colleges, and we get into Houston and get some guys there. Robert Gillespie did a great job recruiting South Florida last year. Does a great job of coaching our running backs up. That's what he does and what he brings to the table is not going to change a whole lot. Same thing with Bill Biedenbow, coaching the O-line, getting into the Western Ohio area, and then working his way over to his home city of Chicago to see if we can't get a couple of linemen that look like him, with big heads and Jake Spavitalk, quarterback coach. We're going to put Jake over in Jersey. Another area that I don't think we've done a very good job of recruiting here in the last several years is New Jersey. It's a tremendous amount of football players come from there. I've been told I think 30% of our student body is from New Jersey, so I think we need to do a better job of getting in there and pulling some guys, which Jake will work. He'll work as hard as anybody when it comes to getting in there and getting some things done. The two graduate assistants, on-the-field graduate assistants, this spring, Vince Cashdollar will be the offensive graduate assistant, and he did a great job for us last year. He's been here for the last 2 years. We didn't want him to go anywhere. He had some opportunities, but wanted to stay put here, and he'll be the on-the-field guy in the spring, and really help with the offensive line more than anything. Andrew McGee is coming to us from Oklahoma State. Was a tremendous player at Oklahoma State. He's all Big 12. In 2010, he's had some injury situations, or he'd probably be playing in the NFL right now. But he's a great person. He's a great kid. He's going to be a fantastic coach, and we're excited about getting him on board, and will be a really good sounding board for our players, not only from a personal standpoint, but also be able to get out there and help coach the secondary. He played for Coach DeForest at Oklahoma State. We're excited about him. One other note with the staff: Ryan Dorchester has been he's been moved to full-time recruiting coordinator. Ryan's been here for a long time, working diligently on about 6 different degrees, but to the point to where his knowledge as far as the recruiting base is really important. As far as where we're at, from an off-season standpoint, we're in week 8. This is the 8th week. From a strength and conditioning standpoint, I think these guys are working really hard, and I think they're working hard to improve their body. Their work ethic's been good. Mike Joseph's doing a tremendous job as far as heading that up, and along with the help of Mark Smith and Darryl Bauer and Pat Fitzpatrick and Kevin McCabe, they've all done a great job as far as getting those guys working hard in the weight room, and they don't get enough credit. I can assure you that. Those guys are here at 5 in the morning and they stay late at night, and they're pretty much they're pretty much running the program right now, and Mike's doing a good job, and like how those guys are working, like how the coaches are working, but in particular like how the players are out there working. Quick little injury update: Dustin Garrison and Terrence Garvin are healing, from knee surgery. They're both doing good. They're on schedule to be back full speed in June. And Juwan Snow, who had a shoulder injury, is you know, improving as well. Those are the only 3 guys that we got that won't be going through spring practice. You know, Juwan's scheduled to come back in July, but other than that, we have, you know, about 57 more scholarship guys that are going through spring. We got, I think, 93 or 94 that are on the team, you know, so we'll have a lot of bodies to be able to go out there and practice, and that's been one of the themes that I've been harping on here for the last year is to make sure we got enough bodies where we can get out there and practice. And I feel like we're in a little better situation now than we were. Still got to add about 23 signees. I guess the latest signee that we had, which we just got his papers in today, you know, we know Josh Lambert was a post signee as a kicker out of Dallas, but we also got John DePalma. He's a 6'5", 6'6" deep snapper, big, tall, broad-shouldered guy. You know, got a great GPA, huge frame, and you know, that's an area that we felt like we needed to address based on, you know, Cody Dutter's graduation to the point where he was, you know, he was our special teams MVP. So that's a very important position, you know, and that, you know, Joe will be able to work with this guy and get him to the point to where he can help us win some games. Looking forward to spring practice. You know, it seems like it's been a while since we've been doing football stuff, but anxious to get out there. You know, you got the schedule there. I like how the schedule's set up. We'll go 3 days a week. You know, in spring, you can wear them out now, so we try to spread that out over 6 weeks to the point with one of the weeks being spring break. But it gives you a lot of time to not wear them out, heal them up, and just get as much work as we can. So we'll go 6 practices, then we'll break for spring break and come back and finish up the other 9 prior to the much anticipated spring game, where we hope to have, you know, about 30,000 people. I think we're about 25,000 people last year. We'd like to get that up over 30 for next year. So at this point, open it up for a few questions.
Dana, how does your approach change for this spring as opposed to last spring? More teaching, less individual assessment?
Well, 2 different philosophies, I guess. One, you know, offensively, we got 9 starters back, and, you know, it's going to make a whole lot more sense to us offensively now. You know, having that many starters back, it's more about developing some depth and getting the starters, you know, just a year better. I mean, everything that we do makes sense. We got goals that we want to improve on, obviously, but it's more about just getting these guys better at what they're doing. You know, defensively, it's going to be more like we were last year offensively. You know, it's a new coaches, new scheme. You know, it's kind of a fresh start for a whole bunch of defensive players. Last year, we didn't have any starters offensively. We took everybody and we reevaluated them, and, you know, we ended up getting some guys that hadn't played in the past, like Ryan Nealon and Willie Millhouse and Tyler Rader and some guys like that. Gave them a fresh start. We kind of want that same thing to happen for us defensively. You know, everybody's, you know, slate's being wiped clean, and they can get out there and they can show these new guys what they got. So different philosophy with what we're doing offensively and defensively, but again, it's all, regardless of what it is, practice is about getting better, and you get out there and you got to do what you got to do to get better. Excited about the specialists returning too. I mean, we got all those special teams guys that, you know, you got Tavon, who's a, you know, returning All-American guy. You got Tyler's won some games around here for us, you know, and Corey needs to work on some consistency, but to the point, you know, he pretty much won the pit game for us. So I like what we got coming back. We just gotta work a little harder to develop some depth and get better on all 3 sides.
Dana, scoring 70 points in the Orange Bowl seems to have raised expectations among national media, fans. How's that going to affect your approach in spring and what your team thinks?
It won't affect what we do. I mean, we got a plan. I know it's going to increase the expectations. That's unavoidable. It's not how you start; it's how you finish. You know, which that worked out for us last year. But you know, if we get a little big-headed because we scored that many points, I just got to remind them we scored 10 against South Florida. week prior to that, or the game prior to that, so we're far from having things figured out. I mean, the 70-point thing was a barrage due to the fact that, you know, all three sides of the ball played well and we just caught fire and it worked out. But there's watching the cut-ups, offensively watching the cut-ups, I mean, there's a whole bunch of stuff that we can do to get better.
You did your South Scout. What did you like and what didn't you like, and what do you got to work on this spring thing?
Situational stuff's probably the one thing that stands out offensively, just as far as understanding, you know, what the specific situations are and how you know, attack specific things to get better. You know, I mean, 3rd and 2 is something that we weren't very good at. You know, completing balls in the score zone was something that we weren't very good at. So, you know, we got an overall objective, and, you know, we'll take it day by day, and, you know, it's our whole 3-day installation thing that we just got specific things that we want to work on. But in year 2, it's going to be more, for us to get better offensively, I mean, we're going to have yards and we're going to make plays and all that stuff, but for us to be a good team and be effective, we got to get better from a situational standpoint. That's what makes you good offensively. And we weren't very good offensively last year when it came to situations.
Coach, the rule changes on kickoffs in that area of the game. You know, do you like that, and how do you think that'll change things?
I don't know, really. There's obviously going to be more touchbacks. You know, the trend in the NFL, and I haven't talked to these guys about it much, but the trend in the NFL was more big plays too, because they'd come from 8 yards into the end zone, and it seemed like there was a lot more return for touchdowns. But you know, we'll evaluate it and look at it. It's all about what the kicker is, I guess, as far as getting it into the end zone. There'll probably be more touchbacks, but then you start relaxing because there's been 6 touchbacks, and then a guy brings it out from 8 yards deep, and you know, that could end up catching some people off guard. And I think Tavon will have an opportunity to do that as well. You may not get as many returns, but may have some bigger ones.
You named Shannon your offensive coordinator. How do you think that
Smith has Heisman potential?
We're not going to talk about Heisman potential. I mean, that's all about, we're not going to do any campaigns or any of that. It's all about how you do on the football field, and if he plays well, much like the quarterback at Baylor last year, heading into the year, you know, there wasn't any Heisman talk or Heisman campaigns, and due to the fact that he played good on the field, that's what counts.
You named Shannon your offensive coordinator. How's that going to change what you do on game day, and how's it going to change, obviously, what he does on game day?
It won't change much. I mean, everybody's kind of got their role offensively, and you know, going into the game from a game preparation standpoint throughout the course of the game and all that. I mean, Shannon and Jake both are upstairs in the box and will remain upstairs in the box and give me information and all that. So, you know, Shannon's a guy that's been in this offense for longer than, you know, has been longer than anybody, you know, and it was offensive coordinator for 6 years prior to coming here. So, you know, it's something that he's done in the past, and is, you know, everybody was pretty comfortable with him remaining to do that.
Going to the Big 12, do you guys anticipate hitting any roadblocks, maybe hitting a wall, considering Big 12 defenses have kind of seen what you guys have done offensively? Do you feel like they might have a leg up on maybe the Big East teams did last season?
Well, you know, much like what we're trying to do defensively, I mean, you know, there's a lot of good defensive coordinators in the Big 12, obviously, and a lot of those teams have seen it. But, you know, I mean, we've seen it too, and I think there's probably a little bit more unknowns when it comes to West Virginia than it is for, you know, what the Big 12 is going to pose as far as what this staff understands. So, yeah, it's going to be challenging. There's no question. I mean, we're understanding what the challenges are, and we're just going to try to work to get a little bit better each week and line up and see what happens.
If you flip that around, is there going to be kind of a culture shock for the guys on defense who maybe were used to Big East offenses, and now they're going to get spread out much more often? Well,
we got, you look at what the last 3 games of the year were with Pitt and South Florida and Clemson. It's not going to be any more spread out than that. That, you know, the nature of the Big East was a little different, but it had been changing for a couple of years, and especially last year it had been changing as far as the movement east, you know, from those type of offenses going east. It's going to happen more, and that's why it's important for us to have a whole bunch of bodies. And when we go into camp, we're still looking for about 10, 15 more good quality walk-ons to get our numbers where we're at 125, 130. When we line up in camp, everybody's going to get a chance, because you got to play more people, and you got to get guys understanding that the game's different. It's changed. It's more up tempo. There's more plays in the game. You got to cover more field. So, that's one reason why we hired some of the guys that we hired, because they understand that better than anybody.
Danny, your defensive changes in terms of scheme, big change from what these kids saw in the past, little change? How much do they got to learn that's brand new?
Well, we can't give out all our secrets. We want to schematically. We gotta hang on to some tricks and all that. But coverage-wise stuff's going to be relatively similar. But the front's going to be different, and the fits are going to be different, and how they're going to be coached is going to be different. So looking forward to getting out there, and like I said, everybody's pretty excited. I think if you gauge our team with morale and with excitement, I think it's as high as it can possibly be. So those guys are anxious to get coached.
Do you think with 9 offensive starters returning, tempo is going to be something you want to increase this spring?
Well, that all depends on if it works. The tempo thing, we tried several times throughout the year to do it, and it looked like crap, so we quit doing it. So the better we get, the faster we can go, and that's just part of improvement.
Coach, is preparation going to be easier with every game being on Saturdays?
It doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt. You can get into a better routine that way. We had a couple of odd games last year, but I think we handled it fine. But yeah, from a routine standpoint, I think it's going to make it easier.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
All right, appreciate it, guys.